Okay, we'll start now. Last time I dealt with the case study. In fact, last two classes, case studies pertaining to 2024 exam paper of UPSC. Now I got some requests that I should deal with some case studies based on contemporary issues, uh, particularly current affairs. Some issues are running. And as you know, every year out of 6 case studies, at least two, sometimes 2 to 3, are based on the current issues, contemporary issues. So, with that objective in mind, today I have selected some 5 case studies which are based on current affairs, or you can say contemporary issues, which are important from the point of view of this year's exam as well, and otherwise also for general understanding also how case studies are dealt with in an ideal manner in 250 words. So I have kept the difficulty level of these case studies also almost similar to the actual UPSC paper. So accordingly, now we will start the discussion on the case studies. So now let me share the document, and then we can manhandling or mishandling of, you can say, of the bureaucrats or civil servants in various parts of the country. We are already uh, listening, we are reading in newspapers also. So first case study is based on these kind of events. So this is the topic I have given: manhandling of a district magistrate during election duty. So to make it little more complicated or complex, election duty has also been added in that. The case study and the size of case study or paragraphs also have been kept as usually we get in UPSC, because in UPSC you get at least 150 to 200 words, or sometimes 225 or 250 words paragraphs. You have to read it properly and then try to answer it. So our paragraphs also will be roughly in that range, 150 to 225 words paragraphs will be there. So now let us go through the first case study. Now the case study is like this: you are the district magistrate of a reserved constituency during general elections. At an official inspection event, a ruling party MLA insists on announcing new schemes. You deny permission, citing model code of conduct. In full public view, he grabs your collar, uses caste-based slurs, and accuses you of bias. The video goes viral. Later, a doctored clip emerges showing you allegedly insulting a religious symbol, sparking unrest. Civil Services Association demand action under IPC sections 353, 504 and SC/ST Act. Now, one more just point. Now, IPC has been changed to Bharat Nyaya Sanghita. So it's BNS now. So accordingly, the BNS sections will come. The Election Commission seeks a report. Senior officials urge restraint to avoid disruption of polling. Your team is demoralized. Local police are hesitant to register an FIR. You must choose between pressing legal charges and maintaining election stability. So now this is the uh, case study. Now, on basis of this situation, now the questions will be: what ethical and institutional dilemmas arise in this situation? This is first question. Second is, should you initiate legal proceedings or prioritize electoral peace? Justify your decision. Now, this is second. Third is, suggest systemic reforms to deter political assaults on civil servants. Fourth, how should institutional dignity be preserved without compromising neutrality? In actual exam also, you may be remembering, in some case study questions, 3 questions are asked, in some 4 are asked. So accordingly, just to make it real, here we have also done in some 3 and some 4 questions have been put. Wherever 4 questions are there, definitely each question will be of 5 marks, and roughly it has to be answered in about 50 words, 50 to 60, or 60 to 70 words each. So here also 4 questions. It's 20 marks question. Total 250 words we have to answer, and we have to stick about 60-70 words in each question. So now let us see. We'll start one by one. What ethical and institutional dilemmas arise in this situation? So now the answer can be, you face a moral dilemma between upholding constitutional accountability and preserving electoral harmony, because elections are there. Ethically, there is a tension between Kantian duty. So, the duty-based ethics of the Immanuel Kant, enforcing the law, and utilitarian caution. Utilitarian caution of Jeremy Bentham and J.S. Mill, avoiding unrest, because the greatest good of greatest number, or maximum benefit to maximum people. Institutionally, your obligation to enforce the model code of conduct. This is from election laws, election commission norms. Model code of conduct is there. Clashes with pressure from political superiors. The caste slur implicates Articles 17 and 21. So this is also, wherever constitutional provisions are relevant, we need to refer that. So constitutional morality. And while AIS conduct rules, so AIS conduct rule is also to be referred here, demand integrity and courage. So basically, ethical theories have to be referred here. Then the constitutional and other legal provision, because elections are there, so election laws have to be referred. And also conduct rules also needs a mention. So accordingly, these are the ethical and institutional dilemmas in this situation being faced by an officer who is posted as district magistrate there, or returning officer, you can say. Now, next question is, should you initiate legal proceedings or prioritize electoral peace? Justify your decision. So first thing, you have to tell what decision you will take, and then you have to justify also. Why, what will you do? Yes, so to the point we have to be, yes, legal action is ethically and constitutionally warranted. So this is the answer of the first part. And now we are going to elaborate it further. As I told earlier, in the question, IPC has been mentioned, but in the answer, I have incorporated BNS relevant sections, because Bharat Nyaya Sanhita has replaced Indian Penal Code, as most of you may be knowing already. You might have already gone through. So Section 24 BNS 2023, that is assault on public servant, and Section 31R of the SC/ST Act apply here. So these two provisions apply. And also we are quoting Supreme Court judgments, because wherever these constitutional provisions or penal provisions or act provisions are there, statutory provisions there, Supreme Court decisions also strengthen those provisions. So here we are quoting that also. TSR Subramaniam versus Union of India 2013, officers must act without political fear. So, these are the provisions under which the legal action should be taken. Now, further we are elaborating what should be its justification. So, inaction violates constitutional morality, definitely, because and undermines the civil service ethos. So, this again important point. Kant's ethics demands duty over consequence. So here again we are quoting Kant's ethics, Immanuel Kant of duty-based ethics. It demands duty over consequence, and silence may embolden future misconduct. So this is again reason. So basically, these are the justifications for taking legal action. So definitely FIR has to be lodged under relevant provisions, action needs to be taken, and these are the justifications. Now, third part of the question was, suggest systemic reforms to deter political assaults on civil servants. So now what will be the various reforms which can be taken? So first point is, enact a Public Service Protection of Duty Act. So there has to be some special act which protects public servants on duty from the assaults. Then establish district officer protection units under the EC during MCC. So under Model Code of Conduct, whenever elections are there, such kind of protection units can be established, in which the police officers and other relevant officers also can be accommodated in that units. Then mandate video audio recording for field inspections. Fourth is create fast track courts under a 90-day trial period mandate. Because wherever fast track courts are there at least the statutory provisions can be implemented or can be applied more effectively. Then last point is institutionalize ethics modules on virtue ethics and crisis conduct. So these modules needs to be institutionalized. Institutionalized means they may be included in the training, they may be included in the awareness creation, all those things can be done. Then last question is of this case study, how should institutional dignity be preserved without compromising neutrality? So the answer can be by following the due process via election commission, filing objective reports, and refraining from public statements. Now, this is very important for a bureaucrat because, see, you have to take action, but unnecessarily you cannot go to the press or make public statements, because sometimes these kind of statements or these kind of actions may further deteriorate this situation. So that has to be mentioned. Then Rawlsian justice affirms that impartial law enforcement free from fear or favor is the highest form of ethical neutrality. So this completes our first case study, which is very, very current. A lot of assaults and manhandling is taking place. So that can be, you can accommodate these points whenever you try to answer similar kind of case studies, because exact this may not come in the exam, but definitely similar may come. So accordingly, points may be taken from this place. Now, let us see second case study, which is based on contemporary issues. You had this is algorithmic bias in public recruitment, because this also has been noticed in a few states. So accordingly, this case study has been brought here. You had a state recruitment board that introduced AI-based shortlisting for teacher selection. After results are declared, protests erupt, alleging exclusion of women, rural, and linguistic minority candidates. So this is the main problem in this algorithmic bias, this software. Independent reviewers confirmed that the algorithm, though legally cleared, was trained on biased data. The CM's office hints at quite damage control. A PIL has been filed. Your legal team warns that cancelling the results would trigger thousands of lawsuits. You must decide whether to defend the process or acknowledge its ethical flaws. So now this is the current situation case study or case study on contemporary issues. And there are three questions now. You see, first is what ethical concerns arise from the use of AI in public recruitment processes? This is the first question. Second is, how would you balance legality, fairness, and public trust in your decision? And third and last is, propose safeguards to ensure ethical AI deployment in governance. So these are the three questions, have to be answered in 250 words. Since it is 20 marks question, so maybe 7 marks, or like that. 6 marks, or depending how in actual exam this marking system is there. But overall, this is 20 marks question to be answered in 250 words. Now let us go one by one. What ethical concerns arise from the use of AI in public recruitment processes? So this we have to now explain. AI systems trained on historical data can perpetuate embedded biases. Now this is important, because if data itself is not correct, and if the AI which has been designed is trained on historical data, which means the data itself is not fair, so whatever bias is there in the data, that can be continued. Now in this case, in this particular case study, the exclusion of women, rural, and linguistic minorities. So these three categories were excluded, violates Article 14 and 16. So wherever the constitutional provisions are violated or legal or statutory provisions are violated, we have to tell. Wherever court cases are, Supreme Court cases are violated, that we have to, and anyway we have to mention the ethical theories, which are very, very important for any question, any part of the question in ethics paper. As per John Rawls, fair institutions must improve the position of the least advantage. So first we are mentioning John Rawls, then again Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant's deontological ethics rejects using humans merely as inputs to optimize outcomes. Algorithmic opacity also undermines Article 21. So this very important article, right to life and liberty. So Article 21 also is undermined, which guarantees fair and reasoned decision making. Now, these lapses compromise public values of justice, inclusiveness, and accountability. So now this is a very comprehensive answer as far as first part is concerned. Now let us go to second part of the question. How would you balance legality, fairness, and public trust in your decision? So basically, you have to tell what decision you will take and how will you balance all these things in your decisions. So although the system was legally approved, I would order a time-bound independent audit. So this is first step we have to do, because a detailed inquiry or quick inquiry has to be conducted. So quick means time-bound has been mentioned, and independent audit. It should be impartial. It should be unbiased audit involving AI, legal, and equity experts. So equity experts means the stakeholders from all stakeholders, representatives may be included in that, because then it will be a very equitable kind of a team. The panel would provide a fair hearing to stakeholders, including excluded candidates, as per the principles of Audi Alteram Partem. So this is again principle of natural justice, that everybody should be heard. Nobody should be condemned unheard. So this is the Latin thing, Audi Alteram Partem. So this is very important. We have to mention that. If systemic bias is confirmed, I would recommend annulling the exam and restarting the process with corrected data sets. Because see, if bias is confirmed, then no way you can go partial thing. You cannot do partial thing, that whosoever has been selected or whosoever has been. So you have to cancel the whole exam and be fair to everybody. So annulling the exam and restarting the process with corrected data sets. Drawing from Martha Nussbaum's capability approach. Governance must offer genuine opportunity, not just formal access. So trust would be restored through transparent disclosure of audit findings. So there has to be transparency. What decisions you are taking, what actions you are taking, it has to be communicated to all stakeholders, including general public, in a very transparent manner, because that will instill confidence in the administration, confidence in you. Trust will be built in your office, in yourself. So transparent disclosure of audit findings consistent with second ARC, Administrative Reform Commission reports. As you know, this is very, very important document for the ethics paper. So second ARC's recommendations on e-governance and ethics in public administration. Now the third part of the question, third question of this case study, propose safeguards to ensure ethical AI deployment in governance. So further, for future actions you are proposing. So first is bias audits. So bias audit has to be conducted before deployment. So detect discriminatory patterns in algorithms. So this is also recommended by Niti Aayog in its 2021 report. Then second is multidisciplinary oversight panel should be there to review sensitive AI applications. It should not be left on alone. So there has to be continuous oversight panels to review its functioning also. Third is human in loop mechanism. Officer review of final decision also should be done. Fourth is algorithmic accountability code. So legal framework ensuring fairness should be there. So if it's not there, then legal framework should be enacted. So algorithmic accountability code has to be enacted, or code has to be formulated and implemented. Last point is AI ethics training. This is again important to all the sensitive officers on risk and responsibility. This was also recommended by second ARC. So if these steps are taken, at least these will provide future safeguards as far as the AI deployment or software deployments are concerned. Now let us go to third case study. Now this is again important and very relevant as far as current affairs are concerned, as far as the real exam is concerned. So this case study heading is forged consent in a hydropower project. You are a joint secretary reviewing final clearance of a major hydropower project. Official documents include Gram Sabha's consent from 12 tribal villages. A field officer informs you that the consents were forged or obtained under coercion. The project will displace over 4,000 tribals. NGOs submit affidavits challenging the consent. Your superiors press for clearance, citing urgency and budget priorities. They argue courts can address objections later. I mean, these kind of things happen in reality, and I mean, this is a real kind of case study. So that also you should understand. So they argue courts can address the objections later. You must choose between endorsing a procedurally complete file and raising ethical objections. So this is the dilemma. Now the questions here again, 4 questions have been taken up. What values and ethical principles are at stake in this situation? This is first. Should you approve the project despite formal documentation being in place? Justify. Propose reforms to ensure ethical clearances involving vulnerable communities. Fourth is, how can you act within institutional limits to uphold tribal rights? Now, I just want to tell you one thing. Even though all the 4 questions put together should be answered in about 250 words, because this is the requirement of the case studies in actual exam. But some questions can have more number of words and some questions can be having less number of words, because it cannot be equally distributed. That also you should understand. Sometimes it's feasible to distribute equally, but sometimes it's not possible, because some questions to the point answer, if you want to give, it may not end up in equal division of the number of words in 4 parts. So that also you should understand. So it's not that strictly there that all the parts should be given same number of words or same number of this thing. So here also we will try to do same thing, because some parts will definitely require more number of words, because there you have to explain the things. Some to the point answering has to be there. So accordingly now we'll answer. Now first question is, what values and ethical principles are at stake in this situation? So key values include integrity, justice, human dignity, and accountability. So these are the key values, ethical values are involved here. And then we are, as I keep on telling, we have to quote various statutory provisions, various constitutional provisions, various ethical theories, and thinkers also if required. So here let us see. Under the PISA Act, there is a PISA Act that is called Panchayat's Extension to Scheduled Areas Act 1996. This is one act. And then second act is Forest Rights Act 2006. So these 2 acts are there, under which free, prior and informed consent of Gram Sabha is legal and moral necessity. So this is important. So if you are going to take up some major project, a free and informed consent of Gram Sabha is legal and moral necessity as per the provisions, statutory provisions of these acts. Forced or coerced approvals violate the principles of autonomy and procedural justice. So these are violations. As per Kant, so we are now quoting Kant, individuals must be treated as ends. Then as per Gandhi, empowering the weakest, I mean, he emphasized empowering the weakest, and B.R. Ambedkar highlighted constitutional morality. So these 3 thinkers also we are quoting here. Now we'll go to second part. Should you approve the project despite formal documentation being in place? I mean, it has been told already, formal documentation on paper, everything is fair, everything is correct there. So in file, if you see, no irregularity is there. So that's what is mentioned here. Should you approve the project despite formal documentation being in place? Justify. Now the answer you see, no. Mere documentation does not ensure ethical legitimacy. Approving such a process violates Articles 21 and 243 and undermines tribal dignity and self-governance. A civil servant's duty lies in upholding the spirit of Constitution. Now, J.S. Mill's utilitarianism we are quoting cannot justify long-term injustice for short-term gains. So here, some people may quote because if some dam is coming, definitely more number of people are going to get benefit compared to small number of tribals which are being adversely affected. But then in this kind of situations, J.S. Mill's utilitarianism or Bentham's utilitarianism is not going to apply. So that's what is mentioned here. Cannot justify long term because your superiors and other political leaders may be forcing for that. So that's what is mentioned here. J.S. Mill's utilitarianism cannot justify long-term injustice for short-term gains. Clearance must be withheld pending transparent re-verification. So this is the very ideal and good answer as far as this second question is concerned. Now let us go to third. Propose reforms to ensure ethical clearances involving vulnerable communities. Now what reforms you will propose? I mean, this is the question. Now let us see. First is audio video recording of Gram Sabha meetings. It should be done because that will give very clearly, that will show that what has happened. But nowadays AI modulated videos and audios are coming. So that also, I mean, people can express doubt on that, but at least to some extent it will be a better provision. Then third party verification. So this is again a very important step, should be done. Then equity audit cells in ministry should be there, so that even if majority is benefited, if minority or some tribals or vulnerable communities are being adversely affected, it should be audited before the file is built up. Then next is whistleblower protection act provisions also should be used, because then only people will tell the truth. Otherwise, the truth may not come out. Next is ethics training should be given to the officers, because then either your superiors or your subordinates will not force or persuade to you to follow an unethical path. So it can be done in Labasana, or it can be done in DOPT modules in various other training centers, because there are numerous training centers. Almost all states are having their state academies. So there also trainings are going on. National Academy is there. So ethics training should be done. So these are the suggestions given for future protection of vulnerable communities' interests, basically. Now let us see fourth question. How can you act within the institutional limits to uphold tribal rights? Now this is very important, because this kind of questions you will face if you are a civil servant. You will keep on facing almost, I mean, very frequently. So now let us see. Submit a dissent note, escalate to the ethics committee, involve the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, and seek legal advice from Law Ministry while staying actively engaged to prevent injustice. So see, some 4 or 5 steps have been mentioned here. You have to take and also stay actively engaged in preventing injustice. Now let us see what is the next case study. Now this is a fourth case study based on contemporary issues or affairs. Digital exclusion in pandemic resource allocation. Now let us see what is the case study. As Health Commissioner, you manage a real-time digital dashboard for ICU bed and oxygen allocation. While praised for transparency, it is found that migrants, elderly, and digitally illiterate citizens are being excluded. A ruling party MLA sends a list of VIP guests from a private event requesting ICU reservations. Your team warns that manual overrides will compromise the system's integrity. Media is investigating back-end access. You must act to protect fairness, institutional credibility, and public trust under political pressure. So now this is the case study. And this, as you know, has happened in COVID time. I mean, in a very big way it has happened. On COVID, questions have also been asked in previous exams. But I mean, this current exam also, this is equally relevant. So accordingly, this case study has been formulated here. So now let us see what are the questions. Identify the ethical dilemmas in this case regarding digital governance and health equity. Second is, how should you respond to political pressure without compromising fairness? Third is, suggest immediate and structural reforms for equitable crisis resource delivery. So now let us see questions one by one. Identify the ethical dilemmas in this case regarding digital governance and health equities. So now let us see the answer. The case highlights a conflict between technological efficiency and social justice. While the dashboard improves transparency and resource tracking, it marginalizes digitally illiterate citizens because they will not be able to apply, migrant workers and elderly. So this is again very, very critical thing, because if technology you are using, it should be equitable. It cannot be that some sections of the society are excluded from the benefit because of the use of technology. So this is what has happened here actually. And this has violated Article 14, equality before law, and Article 21, right to life and liberty, or life with dignity. According to John Rawls' difference principle, this is ethical theory we are quoting, public systems must benefit the least advantaged. VIP intervention attempts violate objectivity, integrity, and fairness, breaching the Nolan Committee principles. Now, this again another very important committee as far as ethics is concerned. We are quoting from UK, and values recommended in Second Administrative Reforms Commission. Then, now this is Indian committee report, very important report. So the core dilemma is how to uphold equity and impartiality amidst political pressure and systemic constraints. So this is the core dilemma here. Now, second question, how should you respond to political pressure without compromising fairness? So now, this is very, very important question. Why? Because this kind of situations also you will face in real life, real life of a civil servant, if you are selected and if you are appointed somewhere. And otherwise also this is very important from exam point of view, because this answer will show actual insight which you are having in ethical public administration, you can say. So now what can be the answer? I would respectfully reject the MLS requests. Now this is the first point. Citing constitutional duties, RTI Act Section 4, and potential violation of equal access norms. So these are the thing, and very politely, because see, political leaders, you have to very, very polite. You have to be, very respectfully, you have to tell, yes, this cannot be done. So here, same thing is being told. Max Weber's bureaucratic ethics stresses impersonal rules over personal influence. I would alert the Chief Secretary and the State Health Mission, initiate a back-end access audit, and document all decisions for institutional accountability. Upholding procedural neutrality under scrutiny sustains long-term public trust. So these are the actions under political pressure. These actions will ensure justice and fairness. So this is what has been mentioned here. Now, third question of this case study, suggest immediate and structural reforms for equitable crisis resource delivery. First is offline grievance redress counters. This is very important because online may not be accessible to a very, very vulnerable chunk of the society. So therefore, offline grievance redressal counters are required in hospitals and PSCs. Telephonic and on-ground registration also can be initiated via ASHA workers, via ANMs and panchayat offices, because this will facilitate, instead of a beneficiary reaching to you, you reach to beneficiaries. So this is the principle, and followed in better administration, that a beneficiary trying to reach to you is okay. If he is a very intelligent, aware, and technologically literate, he will reach to you. But if a beneficiary is vulnerable, he is not able to come to your office, or he is not able to, technologically he is not literate, then you reach out to that beneficiary. So here the same thing has been mentioned. Aadhaar linked priority health ID system. So this again, this will ensure that it's not misutilized. And as you know, Aadhaar based systems are working quite well in many sectors. So same thing has been mentioned here. Citizen audit boards for real-time dashboard oversights. So instead of your office or our office monitoring there, let citizens also monitor. So citizens also can audit and point out the mistakes if there are any. Then training under DOPT national program for civil services, capacity building under Mission Karmyogi, one of the very important programs of Government of India for training the civil servants, and NDMS ethical disaster management value. NDMS National Disaster Management Agency, they also have a training, various training modules, so that also it can be integrated. Now let us see last case study which I am going to take today. Conflict of interest in tech policy formulation. Now this is the case study. Now let us see what is the detail given in 2 paragraphs for case studies concerned. You are Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Electronics and IT, drafting India's new data protection and digital competition law. A powerful industry consortium of foreign tech companies has requested early access to the draft policy, offering a technical workshop abroad with full hospitality. Your senior who has post-retirement prospects with one of these companies insists you attend and engage. Meanwhile, a former bureaucrat turned lobbyist reaches out for informal suggestions before the public consultation opens. You are aware that the same firms are under global scrutiny for anti-competitive practices. Civil society groups have raised concern that India's draft may dilute user rights and favor corporate interests. The media has filed RTI queries about the drafting process. You must navigate stakeholders' demands, internal pressure, and the sanctity of the policy-making process. Now, this case study, you may be, very interesting because these kind of situations also do happen in the career of a bureaucrat. There will be pressure from the top, not only from political leaders, but also from your own senior bureaucrats. Some may be retiring, some might have retired. So this, this very, nicely this has been presented here. Now let us see what are the questions on this real time or contemporary case study, I will say, real time case study. So the first question is, identify the ethical issues involved in this situation. So this first question. Now second is, should you accept the industry sponsored invitation? Justify your decision. Third is, what institutional safeguards are necessary to prevent officials of conflicts of interest in policy making? And fourth is, how can bureaucratic ethics be upheld in high stakes policy environments? These are the 4 questions. Now let us go to one by one the questions. Identify the ethical issues involved in this situation. Now first, this scenario presents clear conflict of interest, risks of regulatory capture, and erosion of transparency and neutrality. One more thing I just want to tell, in any answer, whatever you need to underline, I have made it bold here. So if similar answers you are writing, all the terms, important terms, names, phrases, ethical terms and phrases, you have to underline in your actual, whenever you're writing the practice test or actual test. So here I have made it bold for you so that you can understand what are the terms, etc., which can be made or made to be underlined so that it catches the examiner's attention immediately. So now let us go to the first answer. Now, this scenario presents clear conflict of interest, risks of regulatory capture, and erosion of transparency and neutrality in public policy making. Accepting foreign hospitality, especially from firms like Google, Meta, Amazon, or anybody. Here names have been given, you need not give names. Violates Rule 3.1 of AIS Conduct Rules and Section 3.1 of the FCRA 2010. Which bars civil servants from accepting any foreign contribution, including sponsored travels. So, in these statutory provisions, it's strictly barred. And if it is violated, disciplinary action may be initiated and further action also may be initiated as per these statutory provisions. As per Kantian deontology, so Kant we are quoting here, public functionaries must act from duty, not inducement. Raoult's principle of fair equality demands procedural justice for all stakeholders, not privileged access for a few. So there has to be equality basically. So Raoult's principle also has been quoted. Now, second question, should you accept the industry sponsored invitation? Justify your decision. So straight away it's no. Accepting would compromise institutional integrity, create perceived bias, and contravene both law and ethics. So here not only statutes are violated, not only legal violations are there, but ethical violation is more severe actually. I would decline formally and recommend that MeitY is Ministry of Electronics, Information and Technology, so in the Government of India. So recommend the MeitY organize an official multi-stakeholder consultation in India with equal access to civil society. Everybody should have equal access. For example, Internet Freedom Foundation, academic experts may be included, IIT Delhi, etc. Industry, NESCOM, FICCI, etc. may be included. Upholding constitutional morality as envisioned by B.R. Ambedkar must override convenience. So this is the second part, second question. What safeguards are needed to prevent such conflicts? So what safeguards you will propose? So now let us see that. Mandatory conflict of interest disclosure should be there. Pre-draft release under pre-legislative consultation policy should be there. Then third is a legislative ethics review board under cabinet secretariat may be constituted. Fourth is enforced cooling off periods for the officers who are retiring are going to retire should be there as per second ARC recommendation. And then ethics training under Mission Karma Yogi to the various civil servants should also be taken up. I want to inform you, it's not that ethics training is not taking up. Already under Mission Karma Yogi, a number of state academies and also Labasana Masuri also, they have started taking up the ethics training, but that can be intensified, that can be made more realistic, that can be made more case study based, because teaching only theory may not help to a great extent. So, this point has been mentioned not to say that this thing is not being done, but then it can be done more intensively. Now, what is the fourth question? How can bureaucratic ethics be upheld? Now, the answer is by documenting dissent. You have to write on the file, you have to clearly document that I do not agree with this. Escalating undue pressure via file notings and anchoring conduct in constitutional values, not informal power networks. So as I told, some questions will have a very brief answer, some question will have a little longer answer, but overall it will be 250 words. So now this completes our all 5 case studies today. Now, as I told last time, that in fact last class I told that we'll be taking up 2023 paper case studies, but then meanwhile I got suggestions from online suggestions also. Some candidates also, students contacted me and they wanted the contemporary issues case study to be taken up first. So therefore I have taken up today. So maybe next week I will be taking up 2023 paper case studies, so that 24 and 23, if we take that, at least you can understand how to answer a case study, what can be the constituents of good answer. So that's what the purpose of these videos are. And then because actual exam case studies no one can decipher, but definitely real exam case studies if we take up, we will be definitely able to understand it better, that how a good answer can be written pertaining to case studies. So this is what I have to say today. So thank you everybody for participating. We'll meet again next week again. Maybe some other case studies. Particularly, I propose that 2023 case studies I will take, but if some other suggestions come up, then perhaps I will see that also. Thank you everybody.